Saanich, and as well as people older who are my age now. I experienced a lot of homelessness, a lot of mental illness, because of the oppression from both people, my peers, people around me, but also just the fact that there were lack of services set up within the community, not being able to go to public shelters, not being able to go and enjoy recreational services because of the fear of being assaulted. And in fact, I was assaulted in attempts to, go to public shelters, get services from food banks. I was turned away because of my quote-unquote lifestyle. I'm now a 27-year-old woman with a Fulbright scholarship for a master's in neuroscience at the University of Victoria that I'm very proud of. And I got to that opportunity from being a homeless youth struggling with mental illness and drug addiction because I was able to find a community and I was able to find support and I was granted privileges that many of the youth here in Saanich do not have. And I just think that it would be fair to provide youth and young adults with the opportunity to help improve their lives and also to prevent these things from happening to youth in the future in our city. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hey, my name is Ryan Clayton, 830 Maltwood Terrace, and I've lived in Saanich for the last few years. I'm also speaking in favor of F1, the creation of an LGBTQ Civic Advisory Committee. I noticed the motion acknowledges the Vancouver Civic Advisory Committee, which was the very first one created in Canada. I actually had the incredible honor and privilege to serve as the co-chair of that committee in Vancouver for 3 years for its inaugural term. So I speak to this from experience of seeing what a committee like this can do and the impact that it can have on a community. And for me, it was an incredible experience. I was a very young person getting involved in Vancouver's community for the first time, and I got to speak to mayor and council, school board and parks board, and the police and fire departments about the issues that were affecting my community and the people around me. We did some incredible work. Some of the things that I'm particularly proud of was the creation of an all-body swim for transgender people to attend civic facilities and swim, something that a lot of people said they hadn't done in decades. Securing civic funding for Pride, the celebration of an International Day Against Hate Crimes in conjunction with London, England. And I want to acknowledge that one of the reasons that committee was created is because Vancouver experienced a series of hate crimes in 2009. And I call it hate crime in the legal designation. The people who committed those crimes were charged with hate crimes and are serving prison sentences for them. They were going down to Davie Street, which is the gay village in Vancouver, and actually attacking people. The head of this, or sorry, the peak of this was someone was actually killed. And that was the impetus for the creation of that committee. We never want to be in that situation. We never want to be in a scenario where we're responding to people dying on our streets because of who they are. The good work that we did in that committee was always under the shadow of why we had been created. And it was always hard to go into that room and go, we want to do good work, but we always have to acknowledge how painful it was to get to where we are today. So I want to really encourage you to reach out to the LGBTQ community in Saanich, and I know we're out there. My landlords, when I first moved here, were a wonderful gay couple who took me in when I didn't have a place to live for studying in university. Surrounded myself with some wonderful friends, gay, straight, bi, trans, the whole gamut. But one of the things that really made me most proud out of that committee is the fact that I talked to so many people in my capacity as chair who said that they would never stand in front of a council committee. They would never stand in front of folks like you and identify themselves as gay, lesbian, bisexual, or transgender because they were afraid to do so. And a huge commendation to everyone who's spoken so far, because it takes a lot of courage to speak in public no matter who you are, much less if you're identifying yourself as a marginalized minority and someone who is the target of a lot of discrimination and a lot of suffering in a community. So to hear that you are creating this committee, to me that sounds wonderful. The idea that you're reaching out to a community that typically wouldn't necessarily stand in front of you and asking for what they need. I know from our committee in Vancouver, we did some incredible work that I'm so proud of. It was very specific to Vancouver. I think that a committee here would also do incredible work, and I hope that if that committee is struck and when it does, I would very much like to also offer my name as someone who could potentially be involved, at the very least share my insights from my time as chair. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
My name is Lee McFarlane. I was born and raised in Saanich and Rundle, but I'm currently on Spring Ridge Crescent. A lot of the things that I was going to say have already been said, so I'm not just going to regurgitate them for you. A lot of the statistics and a lot of the hard-hitting stuff has been said. I just kind of want to reiterate how simple this would be to do. we live in Canada, obviously, which is an amazing place for people like us, for queer people. And I do want to acknowledge that the word queer has had some negative connotations in the past, but the way that we are using it is as a broad umbrella term for anyone who identifies as basically non-heterosexual or non-gender conforming. Anybody involved in the LGBTQIA community, queer is an umbrella term, it's not a derogatory term anymore. So we do live in Canada, and it is, for us, it is a good place to live, considering if you look at places like Russia and Uganda, where it is illegal to be gay, where people are being killed just for being who they are. Because we do have marriage equality, we do have a pride event every year, we do have laws protecting us against discrimination. But a lot of those things are on the federal level. They don't affect us at the community level, at a personal level, every single day. And I feel that creating this committee municipally will give people a voice. And right now I feel that people don't really have a voice. We're not really considered because we have such luck here with where we live, because we have marriage equality and all these other things. A lot of people who these issues are not directly affecting kind of believe that it's over, it's done, the fight is over and we are fine. We're not fine. So I think that us having a voice is just a really simple thing that we can do to ensure that we are heard and we are considered. One example of this is when I was in high school, we did have a Queer State Alliance that I helped to start. And I did notice over the 4 years that I was involved in that, just having that, I noticed there was a lot less bullying, there were a lot less use of the word gay, things like that, as a negative thing, just because of the fact that we were there. And we only had about 10 or 15 regular members, but just because we existed in the school, it gave people the power to come out and to come over those things. So even that scared little kid stuck in the closet, just knowing that we had those resources available, knowing that those people existed, they felt so much more confident in themselves, even if they weren't able to come out and to join actively, just knowing that we were there. So this committee would only be about 12 people, it would only meet a couple times a year. I think that is something simple, just to be able to say, we can do this exists, and people's voices are being heard. Thank you.
Next speaker, please.
Hello, Council. My name is Sharon Doty, and I'm a Saanich resident. I am also the president and volunteer facilitator of PFLAG Canada Victoria Chapter. I've been in this role now since the fall of 2006. PFLAG started as Parents, Friends, and Family of Lesbians and Gays. It's been around since 1973 originally. And it started with family members helping them understand and accept their non-heterosexual children. I began to attend this group shortly after both of my children came out, and I needed it desperately. I am not the same person today that I was at that time. My eldest is transgender, non-binary. That means they don't follow a he or she, but a they pronoun. And my youngest is a just married lesbian. Very excited about that. As part of what I do with PFLAG, I meet people one-on-one for coffee after they've reached out to our organization for information and or support. Over the years, we have gone from parents of gay and lesbian individuals as the main attendees to about 85% transgender focused. Over the past 2 years especially, we have seen more families with children under 18 looking for resources and support. I have been asked in my capacity with PFLAG to come into local middle and high schools to do presentations on making room for difference within our communities, including coverage of homophobia and transphobia, and for how to be a positive ally in their communities. One event that PFLAG participated in for the past 4 years has been Project Connect, which is held just last week in October at our place. This brings together over 30 service providers in an information fair for those experiencing homelessness and extreme poverty. One of the reasons that I take part in this each year is that up to 40% of any homeless youth population is made up of youth in the LGBTQ community. And this statistic I got today from 2015 Victoria Housing Society. I've been told that the numbers in Vancouver are even higher, as our youth often migrate to the bigger city when they cannot get the support that they need here. Simple pleasures, such as swimming in a safe space, have often been an issue. My eldest started an all-bodies swim when they lived here in 2007. And this event is still happening. I believe it's in Esquimalt. They open their pool about once a month. Abilities to use recreation facilities is just one issue that affects trans youth. And at our last PFLAG meeting, we were talking actually about the YMCA because they don't have facilities that can accommodate trans people. So as they're looking to build some new facilities with the YMCA, that's one of the issues that's going to need to be addressed there. To have a healthy Saanich, we need to look at the needs of our residents, and as you can see, we have many LGBTQ people within Saanich, and the facilities that operate in our municipality to ensure that each individual has safe, diverse, and inclusive community spaces where social interaction, physical activity, sense of place, and neighborliness are actively promoted and supported. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is John Schmuck. I live at 1180 Rock Street. I speak, I'm president of Quadra Cedar Hill Community Association. I speak on their behalf. I'd like to speak on item E4, the draft strategic plan. This document right here, we're very pleased that Saanich Legislative Services sent this to us electronically in early September. And asked us to come back with comments and any suggestions we had for the plan. Well, I went down and picked up a hard copy, and I think a few of our other executives also did. It's much easier to read the hard copy. We went through a rather exhaustive review of the plan and came up with a 4-page letter to you folks, I think, with 14 points that we'd like to have included as consider for change. It was quite an exhaustive debate. We wound up having 6 different authors, so you probably notice different tones and writing styles in the particular letter, but that's what an executive consultation is going to wind up giving it to you. One of our 14 points was included in what I see the amendments you're going to have. I think one of our clerical errors that we pointed out to you were also accepted, so you're welcome for that one. The question I've got for you is, just so we know whether this is a good exercise for us to put our resources towards, because it did take up a lot of time, how many submissions for input similar to this were received? How were these evaluated? And what type of percentage of those suggestions were accepted? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there any members of the public that wish to speak to items E and F on the agenda?
Hi everybody, my name is Marie Beauchamp and I live in San Marino Crescent here in Saanich. I'm here to speak on F1. I'm here to, I came across it in 2 different ways. I'm actually on the Healthy Saanich committee, and I was one of the members that actually voted for the motion for it to come up to council. And actually, I was really excited as a new member of the committee to see this type of motion come forth, because actually, after reading the mandate of the committee, when I saw that there was a vacancy, this is the type of thing that I wanted to join and be part of. Being able to be part of trying to help change and improve Saanich so that it's promoting diversity and multiculturalism, and I think it falls within that. I was a little surprised that we were a bit divided, and so since I'd come away from that meeting, I thought I would go out into the community and talk a lot more about the motion and see what other people were thinking. As a lot of you also know, I'm also one of the co-chairs of the Saanich Young Families in Action Committee, and also through the power of social media, I've also got a few different mom groups that are all Saanich relative. So in me setting out or starting discussions about it, and then also attaching Colin's motion and the agenda for the meeting this week, I did get a little bit of feedback from people, but mostly people were really favorable about it. And one of the comments was that it's kind of a no-brainer, why don't we already have that? And I kind of agreed. 1 month ago, the city of Victoria was in the news as a transgender woman filed a complaint regarding her treatment at Bristol Pool. Many municipalities in BC have specific lesbian, gay, the LGBTQ, sorry about that, committees to engage in dialogue with the municipality and ensure that the community is open and accommodating to their needs. Forming a subcommittee for a trial period of a year will let Saanich check in and see how they're doing, after which point Saanich and the community can evaluate whether there is sustained interest and if the process is useful and worth continuing. So I'm very supportive of this motion. I hope that many of you will be too. Thanks.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I guess I have to lean over to reach this mic. My name is Scott Karps, 273 Aurelia Street, Vice President of Gorge Telecom Community Association. September, I'm actually speaking about E5, the zone bylaw amendment, prohibition of float homes or other floating vessels. On September 14th, the Community Association sent a letter to you asking that you look at this issue because Victoria at that time was widely speaking in the media about moving to have these boats that are further up the gorge moved. And we were afraid that they would leave Victoria and end up in the Saanich part of the gorge. And then about 3 weeks later, a boat showed up there covered in debris. Looked like a floating junkyard. And then what happened was on the Thanksgiving weekend, the wind blew really strong, blew all the stuff off of the boat into the water. Or not all of it, but an awful lot of it. So you could recognize now that it was a boat. And now that boat's still there. It's been there 6 weeks and no one's done anything about it. And I'm just wondering what we're going to do about it. I know there's this amendment on the table. I'm not really sure what it'll do. Maybe you'll explain that to us when you get to that point. Yeah, I just hope that we can find some solutions. That's all I've got to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Rob Wixon. I live at 2836 Highness Drive. I am the president of the Gorge Telecom Community Association. So this boat issue is quite an interesting one. As Scott said, we wrote a letter on September 14th, and basically we were asking for some sort of feedback and response. And to date, we have had none. None. I'm stunned. Other than a counselor maybe sending us an email saying he's talked to somebody. That's it. So, we asked for it to be on the agenda last week. We got pushed back. And it's convinced to come to the agenda this week. It's come in the form of a bylaw amendment, which is okay. The bylaw amendment makes sense if it strengthens the ability of Saanich to do something. My problem is, on the day that this happened, I made calls to emergency services, talked to police, talked to fire, talked to public works. Nobody did anything. This could have been a catastrophe, oil all over the place, all kinds of things. Nobody did anything. It's stunning how poor the response was. Despite the fact that we are a well-known community association as strong looking out for its neighborhood. To date, nobody from staff has called us and said, we received your letter, we'd like to sit down and talk to you about what's going on. That's a common courtesy. In my business, I return phone calls. I return letters promptly. If I didn't do that, I'd be out of business. And if you guys continue to do work this way, you may find yourself out of business as well. It's stunning how poor you've been doing the job. Now, we followed this issue in Victoria. I get to follow it in Victoria because I have a long-term counselor sitting right next to me. And it's a difficult, complicated issue. And I wonder if a 300-meter buffer zone is all Saanich needs when Victoria, for some reason, can't do anything without getting a provincial license. So I'm a little bit confused how Saanich can just zone away the water right, whereas Victoria can't. There seems to be a legal conflict of some sort between Victoria and Saanich. I don't understand that part. Is there different water up here than there is further down the gorge? It just seems very strange. All we want to have done is action. Somebody come and get that boat, take it to the junkyard where it belongs, it's abandoned, it's not doing anything, it's sitting on the shore. And just tow it away, and if the guy who owns it wants it back, he can go and try and pay for it all. You get it done. All we want is a little piece of work, not be put off. Next week, we'll do it next week. Or we'll talk about it over a meeting. Let's have a formal council session so we can debate it in public. It seems like we're wasting everybody's time. My time tonight, you know, I'm tired. I've had a long day trying to make a living. And here I am spending 3 hours sitting at council, waiting for council to get to the item on the agenda so I can talk to it. It's amazing. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other members of the public that wish to speak? Please come forward.
My name is Bill Williamson. I live at 3225 Belgian Place. I wish to speak on F1. I didn't come for that reason. I came to listen to the open forum. But one of the things I heard somebody say is there might be some objection because they're a special interest group. And I don't see that as a negative. If there are people who are identified as being underserved, then they should be allowed to come forward too, in addition to these. So I don't see that as an argument against. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any members of the public who wish to speak?
Hi, good evening, Honorable Mayor, Councilors, staff, Ken Whitcroft, 1044 Inverness Road. I want to speak to E3 and E4. Just a couple comments on the E3 one, which is the consultation for financial planning. Just looking at some of the options, like option C, I'm just curious, are we actually going to ever recoup those costs? Because those seem like very large costs when you're talking a financial plan. You're trying to save money. This looks like you're going to spend a lot of money to maybe try to save some money, and if you're actually going to recoup that would be very interesting to know. The other one, which is for the strategic plan, when we look under C4, which is protecting, enhancing air, water, and land quality, the vision is to restore. I believe that's one of the words right at the very beginning, is restore air, land, and water quality. And then when you look under C4, F, it says complete a drainage master plan. Basically, you're talking about continuing to drain the watersheds that support life in this region. If you're going to restore those watersheds, you cannot continue to drain them. We know the importance of keeping the water on the land, and that's what Mother Nature has done for years to basically make watersheds function. So to me, I think it's an absolute waste. I mean, doing the studies is okay, but to increase the amount of drainage and continue to take it off the land is irresponsible. That water is going directly into our oceans. There's so much contaminants. Are you going to deal with the actual contaminants on our roads? The little bit of rain guards and stuff going in doesn't compensate for the amount of roads that we're putting in, constantly more and more pavement. I think that we need to look at some part of that master drainage plan is actually creating creeks again, watersheds, function, etc., etc. Not just the goal of draining the water off of the land. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any of the members of the public that wish to speak for this public input period on these two agenda items? Please come forward. Calling for a second time? Calling for a third time? All right. Thank you, everyone, for your comments. And with that, we'll close the public input period, and we'll move on to item E on the agenda, resolutions for adoption. Clerk, would you please introduce the first item?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This next item is the report from the Director of Engineering in regard to the electric vehicle, RFP number 1515. The recommendation from the Director is recommending that Council award the request for proposal for the electric vehicles to Suburban Motors for an estimate amount of $120,000 excluding taxes for 2015 and up to an estimated $400,000 for future years up to 2019.
All right, Councilor Plant?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will move the recommendation from the Director of Engineering.
Second by Councilor Bryce. Councilor Dermott, would you like to speak?
I have a question actually for staff, Mr. Mayor. The provision for up to 400,000, is that presumably with the same company, or does it lock into the same company?
Sorry, through the mayor to Councilor Dermott, that's correct. It would be with the same company. It would give us the option to purchase.
Yeah, option. Okay, I'll support the recommendation for 2015. I just want to address that option. This is an area that is changing incredibly quickly. The electric vehicles that are available today, and I'm glad they are, but they have some quite definite limitations in terms of range and all sorts of things. Next year, 2016, the General Motors is bringing out the Chevrolet Bolt, which will have a range of over 325 kilometers at a price comparative to what we're paying for electric vehicles today. So, for example, will be a game changer in all likelihood and provide far greater flexibility in the use of electric vehicles than with the ones that we can purchase this year. That kind of changes is coming that quickly. So I would caution against any kind of, an option's fine, because you don't have to exercise it. But I would caution that I think in future years, even next year, we will want to re-canvass the industry because the changes will be very, very swift and very, very dramatic. Thank you.
Thank you. Just quickly to the Director of Engineering, how does this bulk purchase compare to purchasing the vehicles individually and giving us the option to get a more advanced vehicle outside of the contract, because we're essentially buying them as we need them in order to take advantage of the latest technology?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, it's a bit of a unique purchase here. In this particular purchase, we actually worked with the City of Victoria to create a joint purchase. So we were pooling our resources to try and leverage the best price for the vehicles that we're looking for. So hard to say exactly what the cost would have been per vehicle versus how much we were able to achieve, but certainly realized some cost savings there through the process.
All right, thank you. Councilor Bryce?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to acknowledge the efforts of the Greater Victoria Joint Purchasing Group and to compliment the staff for getting the synergy of working with the City of Victoria to drive down the price for both communities.
Thank you. Councilor Plant, you have your hand up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the Director of Engineering, in response to what I heard from Councilor Dermott, is it accurate to understand that while we are authorizing up to the 400,000, we can stop buying Fords and hypothetically start buying brand X?
Yeah, through Mr. Mayor to Councilor Plant, that's certainly, this doesn't preclude us from reevaluating at a later date. It just gives us the option to purchase with those rates in future years.
Thank you very much. I speak in favor of this. I think Councilor Dermott's comments about having flexibility, we don't know what's going to be coming out in the next few years. We shouldn't just tie ourselves to, well, he knows what's coming out in the next few years. I don't know what's coming out in the next few years. So I think having that flexibility that if we could find a less expensive option yet still maintain that integrity of an electric vehicle, we should look at that. So thank you for bringing this.
Councilor Worthington.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the direction that staff are moving us or taking us. The question I do have is coming back to parking areas around the hall. With the addition of vehicles, will that fill the charge areas around the hall, so to speak?
Through the Mayor to Councilor Wergeland, what this is providing us is one replacement vehicle here at the hall and one new vehicle for the group pool fleet. So if that's answering your question,
That does. Thank
okay.
you.
Any more discussion? Councilor Haynes?
Just like to commend staff for bringing this forward, and it's the direction we need to go. Thank you very much.
Okay, with no more discussion, I'll call the question on the recommendation. All in favor? Opposed? None opposed? That motion carries unanimously. Thank you. All right, let's move to the next item, please, Madam Clerk.
This next item is the firefighting mutual aid agreement. Report from Mayor Atwell is recommending that staff be directed to work collaboratively to develop a project charter in terms of reference for the 4 communities to develop a new core fire services agreement. The communities would be the District of Saanich, Township of Esquimalt, City of Victoria, and the District of Oak Bay. Also appended with that is the report of the fire chief outlining the terms on those.
Councillor Dermott?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll move the recommendation.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Bress. Any discussion on this? Councillor Dermott?
Well, I just really commend you, Mr. Mayor, for bringing this forward, but I'd also very much like to commend the fire chief for the report that came to it. This is a huge step for the fire chiefs to get together and really propose a direction that is really a big step forward in integration of services in a way that I think has the potential to provide better service to all the citizens of the municipalities involved, and at the same time potentially reduce costs in doing so. And that is, I think, a good measure to our citizens that we can make integrated services work and serve the region very, very well where it's appropriate to do so. So, again, thanks very much to all the chiefs involved.
Thank you. Any more discussion? Councillor Bress?
Mr. Mayor, I think this is a great step forward. I commend you for initiating a project charter in terms of reference. The basis of this, of course, 35 years of mutual aid and working together, a real mark of really neighbor